Hey everybody, I am dragging a little bit today, a little bit sick, so in an attempt to save my voice, which I'm slowly losing, I'm making this video so that each class can watch this as many times as they'd like. Okay, I'm going to teach you a process that some of you have done online, but I'm going to take it a step further. It has to do with your grades, it has to do with the score on your final exam, and what the last week of school is going to look like for you. Would you please, when I ask you to pause this video, actually pause this video and do what I ask you to do? If you will do that, by the end you're going to have some really useful information for yourself. Okay, here's the first thing I need you to do. You need something to write with. You need a little sheet of paper, doesn't have to be a full sheet, and you need a calculator. Okay, something to write with, a piece of paper, and a calculator. Please pause right now and go get that stuff. Seriously, do it. Pause it. Okay. The next thing I'd like you to do is to get onto Skyward, and I want you to find your 4-digit grade for the semester, not for quarter 3 or for quarter 4, but for the whole semester. I'm going to make one up on the board, so I'm going to walk you through this process with a number that probably doesn't match yours, but the process will be exactly the same. Okay? So now I need you to pause and get on Skyward and find your 4-digit semester grade. Okay? Ready, set, go get it. Okay, the one I'm going to use on the board, I'm just making up. Okay, let's say that I have an 84.27. Okay, that's my semester grade right now. And I want to know what I have to get on the final to maintain a certain grade in the class. And I also want to know if I don't like how things are looking, what do I need to do to change this? Okay, so here's what we're going to do. You're going to take your 4-digit number from Skyward. It's probably not this one, the one you just went and got. And the first thing I'd like you to do is multiply that by 0.85. Okay, times 0.85. All right. Go ahead and pause and do that, and then I'll tell you what it means. My number, 84.27, times 0.85 equals 71.63. So this is mine right here, okay? 71.63. Now that number for you represents how many points you have banked in the grade book from your work throughout the semester, okay? The 0.85 represents the fact that 85% of your grade is made up of your semester work. The last 15% is made up of the final. So now we need you to pause in just a second and make an important decision. I want you to notice on the board I've written these 4 letter grades right here, okay? And I want you to decide which one you're shooting for at the end of the semester, okay? Not for your grade right now, not for your final, but when it's all said and done, what score do you want for the class? Okay, so given the fact that I've been working with a number that was a B, I just want to try and maintain my B. Okay, 79.5 is the lowest score I can have in Skyward and have it still round up to a B. Okay, so would you please pause and determine which of these 4 letter grades you are trying to end up with at the end of this semester, and try and be as realistic as possible. Okay. Ready, set, pause, and figure that out. Okay, for me, I've decided I'm going to shoot for the B, this one right here, a 79.5. Okay, whichever one you chose here, I want you to take a, where is it? There we go. I want you to choose the number that's next to the letter grade you're looking for. For me, I chose a 79.5. Some of you might be shooting for one of these other grade levels. Okay, so I'm going to take that number right there next to the letter grade. For me, 79.5, and I'm going to subtract the number that I got from my first calculation. Okay, yours is on your paper, hopefully, if you paused and did it. So for me, I'm going to bring my 71.63 down right here. Okay, right about now, you might be saying to yourself, hey, there's a website that does this. I can do this really quick. That's fantastic. What those websites don't do is give you options when you're done making these calculations. So stick with me. And I think this will be pretty beneficial for you. Okay, so you're taking your answer from your very first calculation. Okay, for me it was the 71.63, and we're finding the difference between that and the letter grade over here that I was looking to get. For me it was a B at the end of everything when the semester is all done. Okay, please pause and do that calculation. Okay, for me, when I do 79.5 minus 71.63, I end up with 7.87. This should be a small number. Okay, your number, like mine, represents how many points I need to get put into the gradebook from the final exam. That's not the score I need to get on the final exam. That's how many percentage points I have to bank in order to hold on to my B. Okay? For you, it will be the number of percentage points you have to get from the final in order to hold on to the letter grade that you chose over here. Okay? So there's one last final step here. This number that you just calculated here, we're going to divide it by 0.15. The 0.15 represents the 15% of your grade that is made up by the final exam. Okay? So go ahead and take your number and divide by 0.15. Go ahead and pause and do that. Okay. When I do 7.87 divided by 0. Screwed up. Let me try that again. 7.87 divided by 0.15. I end up with a number of 52.5 approximately. Okay? 52.5. Okay? Now this is our magic number. What we've just determined is how many points, or in other words, my score that I have to get on the final exam in order to hold on to a 79.5, which will get me a B for the semester. Okay? Now, yes, there are websites that will do this for you, but here's what some of those websites don't do. Okay? This number right here at 52.5, I've got to compare that to my scores on my tests throughout the semester. Okay? If I've got a B in the class right now, an 84.27, I've probably been doing better than this on my tests. This is good news. This means that I can probably participate in an in-class review for the final and not have to spend a whole lot of time studying outside of class. I think I can pull off a 52.5. That's very, very good news. Okay? Now for you, if this score, this final number that you calculated, is a lot higher than you've been scoring on your tests, okay? If you tend to get C's on your tests, and this number here ends up being like in the 80s or in the 90s, it's not the end of the world, it's not impossible, but it's highly unlikely that you'll score that high on the final without a lot of outside studying, okay? So here's probably the most valuable piece of information that I can give you. Between now and next week, when you take your final, you got a couple of options. The first one is study like crazy to try and increase your chance of scoring really, really high on the final. Every point that you get on the final goes into this pool of 15%. Okay? The second option, which I think is a smarter option for you, is that you ought to go back and do all of your missing work that you can complete. And you ought to think about, is there a test that I can retake? Is there a lab that I need to go back through and correct? And here's why. Every point that you put into the grade book goes into this pool of 85% of your grade. In other words, a point that we stick into the grade book for the semester carries a lot more weight than a point that we put into the grade book as part of the final. Okay? So that means for a student that has a number here, their final number, what they have to score on the final, if it's really high or if it's above 100%, which by the way is going to be impossible, it's not the end of the world. What you need to do is put more points into the grade book that go into this basket of points, 85%. Okay? So don't come into class and think, I'm not going to review, I'm not going to study, this is a lost cause, I'm done for. And then sitting there on your phone and don't do anything, right? stick points into the grade book. The more points you put into your semester grade, this 85% category, the lower this number gets, which is the number you have to score on the final to get the grade you were hoping for over here. All right? Feel free to work through these calculations again by watching the video again. Or if something doesn't make sense or you have a few questions about assignments, come and see me so that we can set up a plan, okay? There is still time. Everybody has the ability to push a lot of points into the grade book before the end of the school year, okay? Have a great day.